Hi everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, SEO and CMS. This is part of Marqui's Sorry about that, everybody. We just had a minor sound issue to get us started. Thanks for your patience. Looks like I just had some troubles with my new microphone. So we're back in business. So let's start from the top. So again, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. This is Marqui's SEO and CMS Back to Basics webinar. It's going to be a short 20-25 minute presentation just covering some basic topics about what search engine optimization is, how it might interact with your content management system if you have one. We'll talk a little bit about the basics of the interaction between those two, and cover kind of all of the real basic stuff about what search engine optimization is, what it can do for your website, and kind of how to approach it if you're getting started. So this is going to be a perfect place to go if you're brand new to the concepts of search engine optimization, or if you just need a refresher on the topic and you're looking for a little bit more information. So just to get us started, I'm going to talk a little bit about, if you haven't used GoToWebinar before, there's going to be a period at the end where if you have any questions or you'd like some more information about the topics that I've been talking about, I've left some room at the end for that. So if you do have a question, feel free to use the questions box there to pipe it in for me, and I'll get to those right at the end. And then while we're while we're going through the purpose of the webinar, feel free to just knock the GoToWebinar controls out of the way using the little orange arrow in the interface. First of all, just to get to know each other here, this is some information about me. I'm the manager of digital services here at Marqui, and I've been in various positions on the Marqui team since 2007, coming up on my 7th anniversary here at the organization. So I've been doing a lot of different stuff. I started in client success, worked through some account management. I'm currently in strategy and execution for our digital services department. So that covers everything from training and onboarding for new customers, helping folks get up and running with their digital marketing needs, and then campaign strategy and execution. So folks that are looking for advice on SEO, digital marketing, email marketing, all of that stuff, web execution, I'm the go-to for that. So I'm an idea guy. I like helping our clients solve problems, and hopefully I can impart some of the things that I've learned about digital marketing and SEO in particular to you today. So let's get into it. I like to remain as transparent as possible with these kinds of presentations. So how did you get here? Chances are pretty good you got my email invitation a few weeks ago asking you to register for the webinar, much like the pages you saw there. You probably got a follow-up email, you got some more information from us, and you went through that process of signing up for the webinar, and here we are. Now there's going to be some follow-up after the webinar. You'll get a couple of emails, you'll get some follow-up information, there'll be a place to download a view-on-demand version of this webinar in case you have to duck out early, so don't worry about that. All of that will be available to you by email, and I'll talk a little bit about, again, the transparency is sort of our next steps at the end of the webinar, so you can know what to expect from Marqui going forward. For now, though, this is our agenda for today, for the next half hour or so. I'm going to be talking a little bit about what SEO is, some of the basic concepts of search engine optimization. I'm going to talk about what I call the two-audience strategy. It's a little bit about how to think about your content so that the content will serve both your human audience and your search engine strategy. I'm going to talk about how content in general interfaces with SEO, how you can think about your content when you're building it for SEO, think about your SEO in terms of your content. The two are very tightly paired. I'll go over a couple of common pitfalls, places where folks fall short when trying to operate an SEO strategy. We'll talk about analytics and why they're important. And then ultimately I want to talk about how your content management system, whatever tool you're using to manage your website, how it can help you with SEO, and a few ways that it might be hindering you that you might not know about. So we'll get through to that at the end. And then, of course, a little Q&A in case you have specific questions that I can answer at the end. So just to give you the most basic kind of copied and pasted from Wikipedia description of search engine optimization, this is the bland version of it. SEO is the process of affecting the visibility of a website or page within a website in a search engine's natural or unpaid search results. So it's the organic component of search. Obviously, there's a lot of other ways that you can bump up your visibility via paid Google AdWords, for example. We're not talking about AdWords today. We're not talking about any of the paid stuff. We're talking about that purely organic, kind of unpredictable brass ring everyone's grabbing for, because it's ultimately a cost in terms of time rather than money. So it can look really easy and simple and say, okay, we have no budget. Hell, let's go after SEO. SEO is free, right? Sorry, it's not free. It takes time and effort. But at the same time, if you're good at it, if you learn what you're doing, you can really be kind of a kick-ass SEO operator without having to spend a lot of money. So that's what I want to try and impart to you today. So to get a handle on this mystery of SEO. So the purpose of SEO is a bit funny because a lot of people think that there we go. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I'm going to need to make a urgent phone call to IT when we're done and get a new microphone. All right. So, as I was saying, the purpose of SEO. A lot of people think that SEO is about purely getting more traffic to your website, and certainly that's a component of it. But if you think about SEO only from that angle, the issue you're going to run into is a very robotic, inorganic approach, a very sort of self-serving way of looking at search engine optimization and management. Excuse me, and that's really not the way you want to look at it. So this is the way that I would suggest interpreting what SEO is for. Think of it first as a user experience tool. Think of it as driving a positive experience for your users. Now, to explain why I think about SEO that way, think about it from the perspective of your site visitor, your potential lead, whatever. They go searching for a particular topic on the internet, and maybe it's a topic your business has related to it, and they go through their search and they click on your link, and they get to a page, and whether or not that page is targeted specifically to what they're looking for will be the very first part of their user experience. It's going to supersede your design. It's going to supersede your content. All of that stuff comes second to, am I in the right place? So a good search engine optimization strategy, one that's effective, is going to start your users off with a really positive experience on your website. They're going to say, oh, yeah, this is exactly the page I was looking for. Thank God, I don't have to go back and do any more searching, right? Then you can think about it in terms of improved site visibility and more traffic. And more importantly than more traffic, better traffic, right? Because a good search engine optimization strategy, good execution is going to allow you to begin that funnel way earlier than maybe you would normally. Like, you don't have to wait until someone gets to a form and fills it out to be able to qualify a lead. They're qualified by the fact that they stay on the page. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the analytics component, about bounce rates and traffic driving and everything. But for right now, think about it this way. Positive user experience is the #1 reason to do SEO. Improve site visibility, obviously getting more traffic, and then more better traffic. You want to get good results out of people who are searching for your website, right? Straightforward. So this is why to do SEO, not because someone in your CEO level team told you to do it. You're doing it because it's a good idea for these reasons. So the first thing that you need to do to start, the components of SEO. Let's talk a little bit about the different pieces. And the first of those pieces is indexing. So indexing is what happens when Google or Yahoo or Bing or whoever, when they're web crawlers, when they're algorithms that search the internet for content, when they find your pages. Now, they haven't organized them in a certain way. They haven't figured out where they go. They just know these pages exist. So getting indexed It's a big deal, right? So to get indexed, primarily there are tools like sitemaps, right? Your website should have a sitemap, and your CMS should help you generate that sitemap, if not doing it automatically for you right out the gate. So you need a sitemap. Updating your pages will, continually, will allow you to get them indexed more quickly. So if you leave a page for a long time, it won't be crawled again until you update it, so it may fall in the search engine results. And then things like having a robots.txt file, can help you. On the inverse, it can reduce indexing on pages that you don't want cluttering up your SEO. So think about this in both a positive and negative way. Think about it in, you want to have the pages you want people to visit indexed, and you want to remove pages from your index that you don't want in the search engine results. Now, again, your CMS may or may not, should have tools for helping you do this. And we'll talk a little bit more about those in a second. But indexing, that's what it means. You know, another component of SEO, and this one from a content perspective is really important and so easy, and you should really be doing it on every page. It's the meta tags. So this is the search engine results for Marqui. I did just a quick search for Marqui, so you can see what our search results look like. The title tag. Now, title's not technically a meta tag, so if there's any kind of SEO grognards in the audience, you know, I recognize that it's not a meta tag, but it's still so important. So the title tag should exist on every single page in your site. And what the title tag does is it displays as the title in the search engine results. So if I don't do this, and this is true of any of these tags, Google or Yahoo, they're going to have to guess what my title tag is. Don't let Google guess your content. Write it yourself. So title tag. Include keywords in your title tag if you can. We'll talk about keyword strategy in a second. But don't overload them. Meta description is that little block of text there. Think about it as like it's tweet length. It's a short description of what content is on the page. Sometimes, and you can see with us, sometimes with the initial page, that's just a general description of the business or the whole website. That's okay. This is going to allow search engines to know what the page might be about, based on the keywords it can pick out, and it'll allow human beings to know if they're clicking on the right page. So someone that looks for Marqui, they're going to know if this is the right Marqui that they're after. Keeping updated map data is really important for people who want to get in touch with you directly. And then the site structure, this little section below, that's determined by what folders you put your pages in when you're building your site. So any halfway decent content management system will allow you to customize that. And doing it right gives people not only the thing that they looked for, but a whole bunch of other options that maybe they didn't even know they were looking for. So someone who looked for Marqui as a description of a company might say, oh, actually, you know, I'm really interested in the Marqui blog. They've got that link handy under company, so they can just jump right to it. So it's important keeping a solid site structure. It's part of that whole meta informational structure for your site. Now, there used to be a tag. If you've already got a website that was built, you know, a while ago, you may still be using the meta keywords tag. The meta keywords tag is dead. I'm comfortable saying you will never need it for a modern website. It might come back, but for right now, it's a search engine optimization corpse, and you don't need to be dragging it around anymore. What you can do is comment out that tag or delete it. You should be able to do this in your CMS. If you can't, well, we'll talk about that at the end. But it's evidence, I think, of how willing Google is to change the way that they do search engine optimization, the way that their algorithms work, that they don't care about a specific tag anymore. I mean, meta description might just disappear tomorrow. They might add a new tag. Being agile, and this is true, I mean, if you've attended any of our other webinars, this is something that I kind of hammer home as often as I can. Agility and the willingness to change your website is a big deal in terms of keeping up to date. So, you know, keep on top of this stuff because it does change. Your URL, this is something, I stole this image from Moz.com. They've got tons of awesome stuff about SEO. If you're looking for more information, hit their website. There's a link there. Just search Moz.com. They're great. Anyway, I stole this URL from them because it illustrates This image illustrates what a URL is really nicely. People overlook how important the URL is to SEO. You know, they might think, well, I've got www.mybusiness.com, so everything else doesn't matter, right? People are looking for my business, they're going to find it here, and that's that. But Google cares a lot about what your URL is. The subdomain, the domain, and the top-level domain, your www.yourbusiness.com, that stuff, pretty important but fairly static. Once you've got it established, stick to it, right? You may have multiple domains, but try to point them at a main area, point them at one domain, and build the quality of that domain. From there, structuring your folders, subfolders, and pages in a way that makes sense and is clear to both a human being and to a logical path is the best way to improve the SEO of those individual pages, right? Make sure that you don't use a lot of complicated redirects, don't duplicate pages in different folders. Make a choice about where a page belongs and stick to that choice if you can, right? Topic, subtopic, descriptive page name, and then if you have an anchor, use it, but you know, it's not necessarily important unless your page is quite long. So think about your domains. Think about the way that you structure your URLs. And again, your CMS should allow you to do this statically, to generate a URL that will be the same every day, every hour. If your CMS is dynamically generating URLs for you every time someone visits your site, you need a new CMS. It's going to hurt your SEO a lot. So something to consider as far as URLs go. And then there's all the outside stuff, right? Things like Twitter, Facebook, email, other websites especially. All of that stuff contributes to your overall SEO by way of reputable linking. Now I say reputable because, sure, you know, if you're getting into SEO, you're doing some research, you're probably getting emails from shady SEO companies saying like, oh yeah, we can boost your SEO 1,000%. Just give us 20 grand and we'll buy you space in linking directories. And you know, sometimes if you're really lucky, you're going to get some ROI on that stuff, but it's a real crapshoot. The best way to build your SEO from offsite linking is to just be a legitimate business who engages with its customers, its leads, and its peers, right? Getting external sources to link to your page that have their own reputable audience. You know, the more valuable the person linking to you, the better your SEO is going to be. So if I somehow manage to get a link from, you know, whitehouse.gov straight to our website, that's a very reputable .gov addresses, .edu addresses. Those are all very reputable organizations in the eyes of Google. You know, .orgs, .nets, less so, .coms are kind of the middle ground, and then the business itself. The more reputable its SEO is, the better its SEO is, the better the links are going to be. So one way you can do this is by having you know, peer organizations that are building their SEO with you and doing cross-linking. You know, promotional blogging is useful as long as it sticks to your keyword strategy, you're true to your content. Having a really strong social media environment in the right locations. You know, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, they're all good, but they're different kinds of good for different businesses, right? Not everyone is going to be, like Twitter is B2C for the most part. Facebook, very B2C, kind of higher education. Pinterest, super B2C. LinkedIn, almost all B2B, right? Like, nobody has fan pages on LinkedIn necessarily unless they're businesses following other businesses. So finding your social media channel to hit and then engaging in it. And engaging in it ethically and soundly and not spamming it. Treating it like a person and behaving like a person in that environment gets you that link back. Email, less so. You know, Google does some link checking in Gmail, but, you know, obviously email is quite a spam-heavy environment. Offline linking can be good for SEO. You know, multi-channel engagement via like print or, I mean, it's still links. Direct clicking is important to your SEO, but it doesn't tie it necessarily to your keyword strategy. So you do have to be very careful about the URLs that you use when you're doing offline linking. If you have a multi-channel module in your CMS that allows you to create these kind of links, create them with that keyword strategy in mind, knowing what your keywords are, and that'll drive direct traffic. and that's going to boost your SEO, right? Direct traffic is good. People typing in the URL means they know exactly where they want to go. So it helps the validity of the page. So think about that. Be careful of, shady link database management companies. And that'll all help boost your SEO from outside of your normal kind of structure. So, one thing that I want to talk about, and this is sort of what I would say if you take nothing else away from this, is that you're writing content for two different audiences. Now, whether you're the person, hands on the keyboards, writing the actual sentences that make up your content, blog posts, web pages, URLs, whatever, whether you're that person or you're the editor, you're the strategist, you're the brand manager, whoever you are, think about content in this way. You're creating it for both human beings to read, your leads, your visitors, whatever. They're reading it as people, but also think about it that Google is reading your content too, and Google doesn't know what meaning. It has no semantic value. It only understands syntax and content, right? It picks out specific words, looks for replications of those words, correlates them with a whole bunch of other stuff, and that's how it figures out what a page is about. So keywords are where those things intersect, Like if I'm describing a vehicle to you and I say it's a red car, it's a red sports car that drives very fast, it's a fast red sports car, Google is going to notice that I used fast, red, sports, and car a few times, and it's going to assume those are the keywords, right? Now, the way that I just described that content would be terrible for a person. Google would get it, but a human being, they would understand that I'm just trying to sell a fast red sports car. I'm hitting them with jargon. So describing things organically, explaining your business proposition, gathering leads, all of that stuff organically like you're writing for a human being is important, but managing those keywords is also important. So you'll find that balance as you go along. So just some basic kind of bullet point tips for this stuff. Don't write like a robot. Keyword stuffing is amateur mistake for SEO, right? Write like a person, but stick to that keyword strategy, right? Having that strategy helps. You want to incorporate them, come back to them. If you look at the Marqui website, visit our site, look at our content, we use the same words to describe things. If you have a name for your product, call it by that name. If you have a certain branded phrasing for each offering, use that phrasing, right? Don't vary, because that's what will help the keyword strategy stick. Just don't bludgeon people with them. Don't throw your keywords in every sentence. Get your writing team on board with that strategy and have someone in charge managing them. Have an editor. Editors work well for magazines. They work well for newspapers and books and periodicals, and they sure as hell work for a website. So if you don't have an editor for your content team, you're going to get more strategies than you had intended. And if you have that leadership in place, if you have the tools available to manage that content, quickly, it'll make it easy for you to make changes to the plan, right? If you have a keyword that the competition is too stiff or it's not what you intended, you're really not hitting your audience the way you wanted to, change the plan. It's the internet. It's the glory of the internet. Just bail out and make a change, or drift the plan a little bit. Don't be scared to do that. That's why we do digital marketing, because it's available, it's cheap, and we can make changes as we go. Something to keep in mind. I mean, this is the cardinal rule, right? This is the thing that matters. And this is true of the web. It's true of email. It's true of social. Do not think about your content like a trap. Your content is a service for the audience. They're not there to throw their money at you. You're there to write content that matters to them, right? And if you write good content that applies to your search engine strategy, people are going to find the page that they want to find. They're going to want to be on your website, right? Good content keeps people on your site, reduces your bounce rate, and being relevant makes SEO matter, right? Your SEO can be great, but if it's shady, if it's not good SEO strategy, people will get there and they're going to say, wait a second, this is the wrong content. This isn't the page of the company I want. Forget it. I'm out. And they're going to bounce. And then what was the point of all that effort, right? Why to go to all the work? So think about your content as a service for your audience. And if you keep that in mind, you're going to end up with good content. Good content will keep people on your site. People that stick around on your site are going to care about your offering, and they're going to buy your product. They're going to engage your services. They're going to like you, and that's what you want. So one thing that you can do, and this is something that people, I think, really overlook, in part because their content management system doesn't make it easy. You know, alt tags on images are just not a thing people think about. So if you don't know, the alt attribute is information for an image for the human side that a user can't view it, right? Slow connection, HTML error, user has vision-related issues. They can't see it. They got a screen reader. The thing here too is that on the machine side, when you're writing for the Terminator, Google doesn't have eyeballs. Google cannot interpret an image. You show a computer a picture of a dog and say, "What is this?" They cannot tell you yet. So for right now, an alt tag allows Google to know what an image is. So you can tag that picture. It's like writing on the back of a photograph. So you say, "This is a picture of a dog holding a ball." And if your company sells dogs or balls for dogs, that plays into your keyword strategy, right? So alt tags, super important. And on top of all of this stuff, accessibility is a big deal. You know, try to shed the idea that everyone accesses the internet in the same way. Some people don't use images for whatever reason. So it's accessibility. It's making that. Remember, go back to what I said before about the positive user experience. If you have alt tags on your site, you're welcoming a broader audience to your website. And broader audience means more sales opportunities. And also, it's just an ethically sound thing to do. So alt tags, they're easy. Or they should be. If your CMS doesn't have options for alt tags, talk to someone about that. So let's talk a little bit about some common mistakes, some things that people do, primarily well-meaning mistakes, but occasionally, you know, sneaky tricks people try to pull to make their SEO strategy work, right? You don't want to end up in that pit of pixelated alligators. So some common content problems people have, no strategy. And it's laughable to think about it, right? But sometimes people just think, okay, well, SEO is a thing. I will do this thing, and obviously we'll just take some shots at it, and no one has a broad strategy. You use generalized branding terms. You kind of throw your content together. With no strategy, with a lack of strategy, you have bad content, you crappy content, right? And this hurts you on the human side and the machine side, right? You get the John Connor and the Terminator both not interested in your content. So bad content, right? That's another problem. And then fragmented execution, right? And this goes back to that whole having an editor thing that I talked about. You really want people to be moving in the same direction. To use a tired biz-speak analogy, get everyone rowing the boat in the same way. Everybody's playing for the same team, however you want to phrase it. Fragmented execution will kill your SEO because your keywords are all over the place. You want to be a sniper rifle, not a shotgun. Keyword stuffing. You heard me mention this before. Putting A, too many keywords on a page, or B, trying to sneak in keywords that aren't necessarily about your business, right? Like knowing that something is particularly popular and bending your content to the flavor of the week. You see this a lot when people start throwing around terms like gamification or social media buzz terminology on their content that may not fit, but they think it's going to get them better SEO results. Don't do it. It's silly. I get, why people would think it's a good idea, but it isn't. Just trust me on this one. This keyword stuffing is what killed the meta keyword tag. People throwing in any old term just to try to get traffic. I talked a little bit about paid link exchanges. Generally, now this isn't 100% true because there are legitimate link exchanges out there, but people don't find content that way for the most part, so try to avoid it. They're expensive, and unless you can really get proof of ROI, they're not really worth engaging in. So try to avoid that stuff. If you want to get links on other people's websites, well, I mean, make good content, right? If you build it, people will post it for you, especially now. Social media makes that easier than it's ever been in the history of the internet, the grand, decades-long internet history. So make good content. Organic link exchanges, they cost you nothing, and they're awesome. And engage, right? Link to other people's stuff, because it's all about exchanging that currency of goodwill, right? If someone posts something interesting about the business environment you're in, and you know they're not a competitor, then post about it on your blog, retweet it, put it up in your Facebook group, get people's attention, because they're going to notice you're linking back to them. They're going to read your website. Maybe they're going to link back to you. Maybe you make a new friend. Get the word out there. URL spoofing. This is a little bit more like technically advanced. You're probably not doing it, but creating URLs that are misleading. You know, this is a pretty classic spammer trick. Just don't do it. Make good URLs that apply to your content. Right? Sounds simple? You can do that. And then just kind of any shady practice. If it feels like you're breaking the rules, or you're being sneaky, you're not an SEO ninja, you're not being cool, you're just muddying the waters, right? Be ethical. It's easy, or it should be. I mean, let your own sense of whether you're doing the right thing guide you. This is sort of the same. I mean, I give this advice for anyone doing email marketing as well. It's like people ask me, how do I know if my email is spam? And I usually say, if it feels like spam, it probably is. If you have to ask, it probably is. So if you feel like you're doing something shady to get more results on SEO, you probably are, and you should probably stop. Right? Technical issues pop up a lot, especially if you've got an older CMS or a static website. Lack of 404 pages, bad redirects, people trying to go one place and get redirected somewhere that is not the place they intended. Duplicate content or old content that clutters up your sitemap. And then dynamic URLs. I talked a little bit about that. All of these things can hit you right in the SEO success and knock you down a peg. So if you're doing any of this stuff, if any of these are a problem, stop putting it off. Go fix it. You're going to thank yourself down the line when your traffic bumps up. So how are you going to know whether things are getting better? Analytics is how. I love this screen. I love looking at this. Look at the charts and graphs. This is a screenshot of someone else's analytics from some stand-in from the internet, because you know, sharing your own analytics is not necessarily a good idea. But look at how beautiful this is. This is a screenshot from Google Analytics. It's A, free, B, awesome, and C, probably the best tool for analyzing things like bounce rates, page loads, average site time, funnels, conversions. It's beautiful. If you're not using it, use it. Go right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, pause, Alt-Tab to another window, and get a Google Analytics account if you don't have one already, because it's great. There's lots of other tools available, specific, SEO improvement tools, that kind of thing. There's services. Marqui offers them ourselves. They're valuable. They're worthwhile. But shop around a little, because there's so many. SEO expertise. I just did quotation marks in the air. SEO expertise is really easy to fake. So don't take my word for it. Go out there, shop around if you're looking for another tool. But analytics is the place to start, because if you don't know how today is different from yesterday, you can't expect tomorrow to be any better, right? Learn from the path. Make changes as you go. And do it in an informed way, starting with Google Analytics. It's really easy. They got a bunch of videos if you're afraid to learn a new tool or you just don't have a lot of time. Google Analytics has tons of great opportunities for learning available to you. So your CMS, your content management system, I hope you're using one. If you have a static website or you're relying on an agency to build and manage your website, I hope that they're on top of this stuff for you. But let's talk a little bit about how they interact. So ways that your CMS can be ruining your SEO strategy. Forcing you to use dynamic URLs. That's a big flag. Lack of control. If you can't move your folders and your pages and your digital assets, your images, your PDFs, you can't move them around, rename them, change where they are, change the structure. If you can't do any of that stuff, that can be a problem. Meta control. So if you can't change your description, you can't change your title tag, all that stuff, the stuff we looked at the beginning, can't change that, red flag. If the host is inaccessible to you in any way, so you can't manage things like your robot text file, you can't put in place 301 redirects, those are going to hurt you. Your content publication system, if it's slow, if it's clumsy, if it's easier for you, excuse me, if it's easier for you just to not bother, that's a big red flag, right? If you ever say, okay, I want to move this page or I want to change this content, but it's just too much work, so I'm not going to bother doing it, that's not even an SEO problem. That's a CMS problem. And then user management or editing tools. So, if you have an editor in place, they should be able to use your CMS to manage that stuff. To say, okay, user A, you're in charge of content B, and user C, you're in charge of content D, and run oversight and make sure all those keywords are getting used and not overused. And your CMS, again, better have that for you, because if it doesn't, it's not doing its job. So if your CMS is helping your SEO, this is how that's happening. Automatic site mapping. You add a new page, gets added to the sitemap. You don't want it on the sitemap? Easy. Uncheck a box. Better be doing that. Because your indexing matters, right? Letting Google know what pages to look at and which ones not focuses the search engine optimization. You should be able to create and change URLs at a whim. And they should be SEO friendly. It shouldn't be page 4x4123. It should be redsportscar.html, SEO friendly URLs, important. The ability to change content of any kind, template content, written content, images, formatting, whatever it is, you should be able to change it yourself with your team without having to rely on someone else, because time is of the essence, right? And part of that, alt tags, meta tags, you should be able to manage them. It should have a user workflow tool built in. And then digital asset management. And this is something that people forget, but where a PDF is located on your website, what folder it's in, matters, right? Files, PDFs, subfolder, file, right? You should be able to manage that stuff just as easily as you manage a page. All that same stuff applies to digital assets as it does to pages. So if your CMS is doing this stuff, that's awesome. You're not fighting it. That's great. I'm happy that you're in that position. Not everybody is. And if it's not, these are questions to ask, right? Are you working against your CMS or is it helping you? So, there's a lot of stuff that goes into building an SEO strategy, assembling a working system for this stuff. Like it is a lot of work. And so, if you have questions, I'm here to answer them, but there's a lot more out there. I mentioned Moz.com. If you look up SEO strategy on Google, thousands of pages. And the great thing about SEO strategy articles on Google is the best ones tend to be at the top because their SEO strategy is good. It's a talk the talk, walk the walk sort of thing. So, it doesn't look like anyone has any specific questions for me today. I know this is all kind of, basic stuff about SEO and CMS, and that's cool. That's totally fine. So I'm just going to tell you real quick about Marqui. I've kind of hinted at some of this stuff. If you're not familiar, Marqui is it's a software platform. We provide web content management primarily, including blogging, but also email marketing, lead management, multi-channel campaigns. If you're using a CRM like Salesforce, all that stuff, we can integrate it together, and it's all in one tool, and it's all very SEO friendly. It's a big part of how we operate. So if you're curious about that, if you're looking to upgrade your CMS, looking to get involved with the CMS, come check out Marqui. We're pretty proud of what we do. And then for me specifically, we provide design and build services. I'm in charge of the strategic service and content planning and campaign execution branch here at Marqui. So if you're looking to get started but you don't know how, you're looking for some strategy, you want to build a new website but you really want to take SEO in hand, when you do that, we can provide those services as well. and I'm happy to answer any of those questions. Speaking of questions, I did get one in just at the end here, so I want to answer it before we go. So someone has a question about site structure, so how to get site links that are below the main link to improve on your SEO. And so the thing about your main page, and I think it's a bit of a, it's almost a misnomer to think of it as the main page versus your subpages. And like technically that's true, but it's all driven by the same stuff, right? Your main page is indexed by content, by visits, by all the stuff that all the other pages are defined by as well. So if you want to improve the SEO on your subpages, you want to get those improved, good content is the best way to do that. Now you're never going to get as much hit on subpages as you will, unless they're targeted landing pages, as you would on a main page. But you know, you can still improve those by way of looking at your keyword strategy, having rich content, and targeting that content towards a specific audience. So just apply the same good practices to your subpages as you do to your homepage, and you'll be just fine. So what's going to happen next after you attend this webinar? You can see you're here in our process. You're going to get a follow-up. You guys attended, thank you. So you'll get our follow-up attendance email. It's going to let you know where you can come back and check out the webinar again if you want to refer to it or share it with your lists. And then you'll be added to a nurture campaign where you'll get some emails about an opportunity to sign up for our newsletter, some highlights from our blog, a video demo of the Marqui software, and then an opportunity, if you're interested, to sign up for a live demo. So that'll be happening over the next few weeks for you. You'll get those emails. If you're interested in some other topics on Marqui, you want to jump ahead and get the live demo, you can just visit our website. The links will be in those emails. So again, thank you so much for coming. If you want to get in touch with me, my page is marqui.com/Adam. You can get in touch with me there by phone, by email, or fill out my web form. And I hope that today was informative for you, that you learned a little about the basics of SEO and kind of how search engine optimization might work for you and for your CMS. And if you're looking for any more information, don't hesitate to reach out. There's the URL, marqui.com/Adam. Thanks again for coming, everybody. Have a great day.